us here tonight on Halton News. It's Thursday, April 23rd, and I'm Jessica Kading. Jamil Tariq is a federal offender who's wanted on a Canada-wide warrant. He's known to frequent the GTA and is described by police as a 29-year-old black male who's 5'10" and weighs 165 pounds with brown eyes and black hair. The Repeat Offender Parole Enforcement Squad asks that you report any sightings of him to Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-TIPS. Alternatively, you can call 911. Halton Regional Police are currently investigating an armed robbery. It was about 8 o'clock last night when a pizza delivery driver was approached by two black male suspects who had a knife and demanded the keys to the victim's vehicle. The suspects then took off in the four-door white Honda Civic bearing Ontario license plate CHFE 225. If you have any information that could help officers with this arrest, please call Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-TIPS. The Halton region has released the latest COVID-19 numbers, and 16 more people in Halton have confirmed positive for COVID-19 since yesterday. Plus, there are an additional 3 probable cases, taking our total number of confirmed and probable cases in Halton to 466. 217 COVID-19 patients in Halton have fully recovered, and 18 have unfortunately passed away. Of those 18 deaths, 50% of them were a result of an outbreak at Mountain View Residence Retirement Home in Halton Hills, where there are 63 confirmed COVID-19 cases. The federal government is investing more money into vaccines, treatment, and research of COVID-19. We spoke with Milton MP Adam Van Koeverden to get the details on what the Prime Minister announced this morning.
Today was an incremental announcement. Initially, there was $275 million announced for supporting researchers and scientists, clinicians and doctors, of course, people who are doing research related to immunology and fighting the virus from an immunity perspective. So really just building a vaccine. And this incremental announcement was $1.1 billion, so bringing the investment up to almost $1.4 billion in the fight to find a vaccine. This will support clinicians, researchers, and scientists who are, virologists and immunologists to help them, because this is the type of research that generally takes years. But they're doing it in a matter of weeks. So we really want to support the best and brightest scientists and researchers in Canada. And very gratefully, and I know a lot of people share this sentiment regardless of your background or your viewpoint, I'm more grateful than I ever have been to be Canadian, because these investments they're world leading, and we know that this is the type of science that we need to trust in order to get past this terrible virus.
So with this morning's funding and others that have already been announced, the question about our country's debt certainly comes to mind. How will this affect us financially, and what kind of debt are we facing as we come out of this crisis? We asked Adam Van Koeverden that question as well. Let's take a look.
Canada is in a very strong financial position to be able to invest in Canadians. That's what's really, really important to recognize. We had a triple star rating before this, and look, every country in the world is going to have to spend their way out of this in some way. We're going to have to invest in healthcare services in Canadians to make sure that the economy rebounds, so that on the other side of this terrible crisis, Canada will continue to be one of the strongest countries in the world. On the topic of debt, this is something that I actually like discussing, because it's a hot topic with a lot of really smart young people in my Milton Youth Council. They want to know what national debt is and what a deficit is. And a lot of them know just as much, if not more, than I do about this topic. But really important to recognize that when a country pays off debt, who they're paying and where those interest payments are going towards, that's an interesting topic of discussion. 75% of Canadian debt, Canadian federal and national debt, is actually owned by Canadian taxpayers in the form of bonds. So I expect there will be an increase in bond sales coming up after this. I think that Canadians will be eager to purchase bonds, because as Canada's federal debt grows, the investment in Canada does too. We continue to be a more wealthy and prosperous nation with great infrastructure, great healthcare services, great education, and a bright future because we're investing in our students. So I'm not too concerned at this point about debt, because honestly, relative to our neighbors and countries around the world, I think we're managing this crisis quite well. I want to be able to support everybody, because I know that different and other countries came to this crisis at a different point. Certainly, we've seen some tragedies in Spain and Italy for countries that were harder hit and hit earlier on in the crisis before it was a real acknowledged as a true global pandemic. But my heart is with everybody who's in a tough position, whether that's a health position or a financial one. We're all feeling this in a different way, and feel free to contact my office through email is best right now because we're not in the office very often. I was in the office yesterday for a few hours trying to get some things done because I have a bigger computer screen than this little laptop at home. And the phone was ringing a lot, which is fine. You can leave a voicemail. We don't have call forwarding set up, but if you would send me an email, just adam.vancouverden@parle.gc.ca, then that's the quickest way to get in touch with my staff and I right now.
Perfect. Thank you so much for taking the time.
It's a pleasure. Thank you, Melissa.
Some COVID-19 patients in Hamilton will be testing out the effects that 2 drugs combined might have on treating the virus. The trial has been approved by Health Canada and will be led by the Population Health Research Institute, which is affiliated with Hamilton Health Sciences and McMaster University. The researchers will recruit at least 500 hospital patients and 1,000 COVID-19 positive patients who are self-treating at home. The drugs that are being tested together are the antibiotic azithromycin with malaria medication chloroquine or hydroxychloroquine. As our federal and provincial governments start planning for economic recovery to take place after the COVID-19 crisis, Oakville MPP Stephen Crawford, parliamentary assistant to the Minister of Infrastructure, reminds us that historically, investing in infrastructure has played a very big role in rebuilding economies after severe shocks to the system, such as COVID-19.
Now, the good news is here in Ontario, we have one of the best infrastructure organizations in the world, an organization called Infrastructure Ontario. So they will help lead the charge on that. In terms of how our government is committed to infrastructure, even before the COVID-19, we had already committed $144 billion over the next 10 years in infrastructure build in the province of Ontario. And that was the largest in the province's history. So we're committed to building infrastructure for 2 reasons: for economic growth, number one, but secondly, also to rebuild a lot of the roads, bridges, and transit systems here that are outdated and need repair. Another example is we've also committed $28.5 billion to transit rebuild here in Toronto with the TTC upbuild. That is the largest transit infrastructure project in North America. That will have a huge impact on the economy here in the GTA, but also, and more importantly, getting people to work quicker, more efficiently, and getting them home quicker so they can spend more time with their family. So that's another big project we've done. A third project is broadband expansion. It would surprise you how many people in Ontario still don't have proper internet access. That can hurt both businesses and people that are working from home and families. So we've committed $315 million over the next 5 years, the provincial government, with our municipal and federal counterparties and private companies that are working along with us. It's about $1 billion investment to expand broadband here in Ontario. So that's another big project we've done. And finally, our government set up an economic recovery committee. So a lot of our key ministers are involved in that, and infrastructure is going to play a key role in that. Minister Laurie Scott is in that committee, so she will play a key role in helping put together the nuts and bolts to get this province back on track after the COVID-19 situation is over.
As Oakville's Minister of Provincial Parliament, Stephen Crawford also reminded us of the infrastructure projects happening right here in town.
Yeah, we've already made some announcements here in Oakville. So in terms of some of the infrastructure builds here in this community, we've committed to building the Wyecroft Bridge. So that we're looking forward to building that. There's a number of schools we've committed to rebuild, to actually building here in Oakville. And also our government recently committed to upgrading and giving some money, funding to Oakville Transit so they can start electrifying their fleet. So we'll have a fleet of electric buses over the future, which will be both environmentally positive, but good for business here in Oakville. So our government's been very committed to this community as well.
The Wyecroft Bridge project that MPP Stephen Crawford just referred to is in Oakville's Ward 1. Regional and Town Councillor Sean has been working hard on that project and provided us with this update.
Thankfully, that's still part of the transportation construction work, which is still an essential service. So we're still working ahead on that. An RFP for detailed design was closed. We've allocated the detailed design work now. So that's moving ahead. We're in the process of of finalizing negotiations over the 2 pieces of land that we have to purchase on the west side from Suncor and on the east side from the salvage yard on Bronte Road. So that'll get finalized now, and then once we've got that land, we have to undertake some environmental testing. Obviously, as a municipality, we can't go forward with any construction projects unless the land is clean. So we'll have to do some remediation work on both sides once we see what's in the ground, and then moving forward. So, you know, this is I know we don't want to talk about it, but it's the elephant in the room. This will delay things a little bit, the amount of work and that should have been going on. But, you know, I'm still determined to push this forward for 2021, 2022 dozers on the site, and we start the build.
The mayors of Halton's 4 municipalities joined together yesterday to form the Halton Mayors Recovery Coordination Group. Oakville Mayor Rob Burton, Burlington Mayor Mary Ann Mead Ward, Halton Hills Mayor Rick Bennett, and Milton Mayor Gord Krantz will coordinate and work together to prepare for a successful transition to a post-COVID-19 future and recovery period. They have each committed to keeping each other apprised of decisions being considered, sharing best practices, and coordinating their efforts. Meanwhile, in the coming weeks, Milton Council will be talking about their finances and how it's been affected by COVID-19. Melissa Candelaria spoke with Mayor Gord Krantz on the phone earlier today for those details.
We're going to be dealing with the very thing that you and I are talking about, the economic impacts of the community, and again with the region as well, because they're a player in all of this as well as the boards of education in Halton here. And because I know that they have to be paid, and of course the only way that the boards of education, as an example, gets paid is through the levies from the 4 municipalities. And I talk about millions of dollars that have to be forwarded to them. So how all that's going to evolve with the taxpayer is still to be seen. But there will be, definitely there is savings. You know, we have had to lay people off. You know, some of the revenue has been reduced. So, but there certainly will be, to the best of my knowledge, a negative impact on the property tax base here in Milton and across the region of Halton as well.
Oakville Trafalgar Memorial Hospital continues to prepare for a potential spike in COVID-19 patients. Sherry Ford recently hosted Your TV's Oakville Matters and asked Oakville's Mayor Rob Burton to comment on the hospital's preparations.
Halton Healthcare is beginning to work with Oakville Trafalgar Memorial Hospital to make room for extra beds. Can you tell us about that?
Well, when we built that hospital, we built room in the hospital for 157 extra beds that would be finished and put in when we got to the point where we needed them. And that would be in the 80% private room mode that we created the rest of the hospital with. That space hasn't been used yet. And I think everybody's heard about the Joe Brandt Hospital in Burlington building a tent outside their building to they called it decant their regular patients into that so that they could treat COVID cases in the hospital if they needed to. Well, so that's a field hospital, let's call it. So what Oakville Trafalgar Memorial Hospital is doing is building the equivalent of a field hospital in the unfinished floor of the hospital. So you'll be a little more comfortable in OTMH's field hospital if it's needed. And as we say, knock wood or whatever you do for luck, pinch yourself. It's starting to look like maybe we won't need it. The promise always was, if we did a good enough job isolating, we wouldn't crash our healthcare system, and we wouldn't lose as many people as we would if we did crash our healthcare system. So it's looking like a success locally, and I'm just hoping that the 260 extra beds that we could put there won't need it. And for comparison, I believe the Burlington Field Hospital tent is 160 beds approximately.
The Burlington Foundation announced a COVID-19 pandemic response fund on March 31st and is already in the position to distribute $163,500 to local charities. During this first round, 17 frontline charities will receive grants, including the Burlington Food Bank, Open Doors of St. Christopher's, the Compassion Society of Halton, ROC, the YMCA, Halton Women's Place, and the Joseph Brant Hospital Foundation. For a complete list of the awarded grants or to donate, please visit burlingtonfoundation.org. A second round of grants will take place on May 1st. On a provincial level, Senior Advisor to MPP Parm Gill, Robert Thompson, took part in the Milton Chamber's most recent webinar to provide details on what Ontario has offered to ease the strain for not-for-profits and charities.
It's a resource that everyone I would encourage to check out. You may not fit into it explicitly, but there may be elements that you can draw from for your specific organization. It's OntarioCommunitySupport.ca. So that's an aggregate website that the province is funding to showcase some of the other resources that are available for not-for-profits and charities across the province. There's also an 877 number if anybody needs that as well. So please reach out to our office to access that resource if need be. They have some HR supports and some of the federal programs as well linked there. So it's an easy portal for you to go through. The other resource that I would highlight locally that Richard, I believe Richard's on the call, and MP Van Koeverden, our office, and Scott with the Chamber are working together to support frontline workers and essential businesses and not-for-profits that are providing service during this time. We're providing them with PPE or any other resources that they need. So please don't hesitate to put in your needs through that portal as well. It's on the Chamber website. And that portal is monitored and updated twice a day. And so we're just looking to connect people who need something, whether it's food or volunteers or PPE, with people that have those items and those times that they can volunteer. So go onto the Chamber website, submit your request through there.
If you want to see more of what was said during this week's webinar from the Milton Chamber, you can tune in this Sunday at 7 p.m. or visit our website, yourtv.tv. We do need to take a short break. Stay with us. We'll be right back with more local content. Welcome back to Halton News. The Burlington Food Bank continues to keep us abreast of all they have going on. Today, they're expressing their gratitude to ProPac Environmental, Joseph Brant Hospital, and Costco. Let's take a look.
Hey, it's Robin Bailey, the Executive Director of the Burlington Food Bank. And just a couple of things. The first one, we want to thank a longtime sponsor of the food bank. It's ProPac. And they donate to us in a really odd way. They actually take our waste for us at no cost, and we really appreciate that because it saves us money. Also, we're pretty good at not wasting a whole lot. So they come every other week and pick up our smaller bin, and we really appreciate that they support us in that way. The other places we want to thank are Costco, who've just come on as a place that you can donate food. So if you're at Costco here in Burlington, we have our bin at the door on the way out. Just drop in whatever you want to donate to us. We really appreciate it. You can break out of your package that you maybe bought 12 of and you want to give 2 to us. Feel free to do that. And the other place is Joe Brant Hospital. Their staff has asked if they could maybe give back to the food bank. And so we're going to be dropping off bins there today so that their staff can support us. We really, really appreciate all that you guys are doing as frontline workers. And just want to say that we seem to be working really well together as a community to support all those in need and those who are maybe not feeling well and those who need to stay home and stay safe.
It was pretty cold and windy out there today. Let's take a look at the 5-day weather forecast we have coming up. Finally, by tomorrow, we'll be back to those double digits, at least into Saturday. We'll see some mix of sun and clouds both tomorrow and Saturday, but by Sunday, that is a 70% chance of rain showers. But on Monday, that sun will make a return and we'll be back to those double digits, 10 degrees as our high on Monday and 12 on Tuesday. The stock market closed with mixed results today. Let's take a look. Time for a short break. Stay with us. We'll be right back. It's National Volunteer Week, and we miss all of our Your TV volunteers, including Paula Floro. Paula has been volunteering with Your TV since this past September. She misses being in the studio and assisting in the production of Halton News, working alongside the producers and other volunteers, and assisting in all aspects of production, from audio switching and digital graphics. She's worked on Halton News and has helped on location, in the mobile truck, and on camera. She misses the team very much and looks forward to coming back as soon as it's safe to do so, and we look forward to that too. The global pandemic may have forced Canadian post-secondary campuses to close their doors last month, but it didn't stop Sheridan faculty and students from completing the production of a new musical that had been scheduled to be performed this month. Under the guidance of industry veteran and renowned director Ann Hodges, fourth-year students in the Honours Bachelor of Musical Theatre Performance program continued rehearsing their musical in real life while in self-isolation in their homes across Canada using Zoom. Let's take a look.
Commencing school projection in 4, 3, 2, 1. Projection commencing.
Tech support training for students of Class 2 Cube Sector. Confirm?
Yes.
Maximize screen. Projection commenced. Class hour lesson today is condensed for a quiz at the start to help you prepare for your final exam. There's no time to spare. And audio checks. Be sure you're signed in and mute other screens before we begin with the basic series. Are there queries?
Minimum grade.
82 pass.
Is it all based on material from class?
Yeah, how much will it count? Grades will affect rank.
Is it multiple choice or fill in the blank?
Being a short answer form, details have been sent. This one will be difficult, but it's all meant to prepare and raise you well to face the
Million thoughts and the million tasks and the million conversations. The million messages, million apps and the million simulations. Let's sleep for a moment and rest for a second, and then you get a feeling plus that again it is time for the thrill of a million more.
class. Are you set?
You can watch the video in its entirety on YouTube. It will also be showcased in the Social Distancing Festival, which will celebrate works of art from around the world that were canceled due to the global pandemic. We'll be back with another edition of Halton News tomorrow night. That's Friday at 5:30 live. In the meantime, we invite you to follow us on Your TV Halton on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also reach out to us via email at haltonnews@cogeco.com. For Halton News, I'm Jessica Keating, and I'll see you tomorrow.